There's more seating, ladies, there's more seating on this side. You can sit in the back there. And you can hear it in the hall, not in the seats there. Over there in the back, a lot of seats. Alright, we have a few speakers, not too many. So everybody, please respect your 5 minutes, your 4-minute slot. So we don't burden the people. First, Rabbi Bessa.
The men come down from the top, the ladies are going to sit up there.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am honored standing here today as an individual with the privilege of having Stephanie Janelle as a student. That vision is clear in my mind, sitting as close to the front as possible, hunched over a notebook, deliberately writing every single word that was taught in school, clearly with the intention of internalizing everything that was taught. I'm also standing here as a proud teacher of Stephanie's children. And it is clear to me that those qualities of Stephanie and Daniel are in those children. I also stand here as one of many hundreds, if not thousands, who were inspired and moved by the love and dedication and support of this very special family the last year and a half. And the support, dedication, and love of Stephanie's friends, which was a huge inspiration for all of us. But most of all, ladies and gentlemen, I am here as a person who's lucky to have been touched by an angel. And that angel is Simha Stephanie Bat Sarah Lynn. The Maram Sahib tells us a very strange story. The Maram tells us a story about a gentleman called Rabbi Yosef who fell gravely ill, went into a deathly coma, and miraculously survived. When he awoke, his father, Yeshua, asked him, "Tell me, what did you see? Did you see anything?" And he says, "Yes. I saw an olam hafuch, an upside-down world, where elyonim are tachtonim and tachtonim are elyonim, where people high are low and people low are high." And many rabbis explained that he saw the real world, where age doesn't matter, where years in this world doesn't matter. What matters is accomplishments. To quote something that I saw in City Field Rotunda, I believe attributed to Jackie Robinson, for this side, it's a baseball player. And I quote, "A life is not important except in the impact that it has on other lives." How many years we spend in this world, ladies and gentlemen, is not counted in the future world. What have we done with the years that God gave us is what's counted. Therefore, allow me to spend a few minutes to focus on the impact of Stephanie's short years, but many accomplishments. Now, I'm going to use the words of Shlomo HaMelech in a beautiful word called Eshet Chayil. Is that not a great name to attribute to Stephanie? A true woman of valor, who set the tone of love, spirituality, and personal growth to all those around her. Allow me to share a few phrases from Eshet Chayil. Darshat zemer ufishtim. A woman of valor seeks out wool and flax. What does that mean? You think Shlomo HaMelech is praising a woman who knows how to shop well? I don't know. Possibly. But I believe there's a deeper meaning here. Wool and flax, tzever pishtim, you know what that is. Those are two ingredients that are not allowed to be put together. That's kilayim. A true Eshet Chayil has the wisdom and the clarity to understand right from wrong, what does mix and what doesn't mix. Is that not Stephanie? A woman who was gifted with a special, unique Binah Yeterah, Binah Yishah, with wisdom and clarity to know right from wrong. The clarity of Sarah Imenu in separating Ishmael and Yitzchak and understanding what are the true values to establish in her life and in her home. Oz v'hadar livusha. I mean, it's written for Stephanie. Strength and dignity is what she is robed in. In Judaism, we do not measure strength by muscles. We measure strength by determination and by resolve. Yeah, I would not put Stephanie on a wrestling team, but I don't think I met a more strong individual in my life. Determination, the fire in her eyes, how fierce she fought for herself and her children. Dignity. When I spoke to Steph, when you walked out of the room, you think you were talking to Malchut. You think you're talking to royalty. Class, sophistication. So missing in today's world. A class act. Kamu vaneha vayashuha. Her children rise up and make her happy. What made Stephanie happy is the beautiful development of her children. And her children did rise up to levels that are really unheard of, and their dedication and love. Ba'ala vayahawla. Her husband praises her. Are you kidding? Her husband not only praises her with words, but praises her with actions. If Sarah will forgive me to divulge our private talks, how much she looked up to her father, she looks up to her father as probably the most superhuman person in this world. Adalita al-Kulana, Stephanie, you surpassed them all. And now without sending a shudder down your spine, listen to the end of Eshet Chayil. V'haleluha b'she'arim ma'aseha. Let her achievements praise her at the gates. I don't know what gates Shlomo HaMelech was speaking about, but there's no question that her achievements are being recognized at the gates of Olam Haba. I conclude with one thought, and this message really is for Stephanie. A few months ago, Stephanie had the strength to come to school on PTA night. She looked beautiful as usual. And other teachers and myself spoke to her about her children. Of course, that was her main concern. Her main concern is that her children should develop and succeed and have the strength to deal with all the challenges of this world. Well, my message is, Stephanie, you've succeeded greatly. From the story of Yosef HaTzadik. Yosef HaTzadik found himself in Egypt, alone in Potiphar's home, with many challenges and not a very healthy environment. And I'm sure you all know the story. There was a day that he became weak and almost succumbed to those challenges. And as you all know, what saved Yosef was no Shel Aviv, the image of his father, came to see him in front of him. That image gave him strength. And he's Yosef HaTzadik. I conclude by saying to Stephanie, you have nothing to worry about. You've succeeded in creating an image that your children will never, ever forget. An image of purity, an image of innocence, an image of honesty. And that will serve as the strength for them to succeed in their lifetime. It is not only an image, ladies and gentlemen, for her children, but Stephanie's image is an image for all of us as a source of inspiration. And that source of inspiration should be a zechut for Arayat Neshama, for Simha, Stephanie, Batzara, and Lynn, and will be a blessing to her children, family, and community. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Rabbi. Rabbi Joey Haber. We have a few speakers. Please, everybody that's going to speak, stick to your 4-minute plan. We wrote the Rabbi with 5. Now we're talking 4.
I'd like to address Joe, Sarah, Lauren, Sherry Lynn, and Jacob Sultan. A day or so you're going to get up. And then what? Then what? So I'd like to tell you a little story. This story took place in this community 64 years ago. There were 2 women in a movie theater. 2 sisters. And suddenly, at 32 years old, one of the sisters had an aneurysm or a heart attack and passed away. She had a 6-year-old at home, a 3-year-old at home, and the child was a few months. And the community said, what's going to happen to her? What's going to happen to her? What's going to happen to her children? How's her husband going to go on? Where are they going to go? What are they going to do? How are they going to have? What's going to happen? Well, the 6-year-old got married and the 3-year-old got married, and so did the one who was a few months old. They married the most wonderful people. They had wonderful children. All of her grandchildren are married today. And she even has great-great-grandchildren. And she's good. Family's good. The reason why I know is the 6-year-old is my father. His mother passed away in the theater. So Joe and Sarah and Lawrence, Sherry Lynn, Jacob, here's what's going to happen. Wherever you go, people are going to tell you about your mother. People are going to tell you, oh, your mother, Stephanie, she gave us classes in the cancer center. And I still remember how she taught us to cook. Oh, your mother, Stephanie, she tried to make a match for me. And I dated someone through Sephardic link through your mother. Oh, your mother, Stephanie, she told everyone she was the healthiest person in the world. Everyone knows how she told me how to make this recipe. She told me how much she cared about health. Oh, your mother, Stephanie, she would invite me into her house like with the warmth and energy. 20 years from now, someone's going to say to you, oh, your mother, Stephanie, oh, she was my best friend. You don't know how close you are. You don't know what kind of conversations we have. There'll be a principal from a school say to you, your mother, Stephanie, do you know how much she cared about you guys when you were 5 and 6 and 8 years old? You're going to succeed. You're going to succeed. And whenever you're down, and when you're ever feeling a little weak, you're going to look at your dad. And you say, my dad is Daniel Sultan. My mother and my father had the most beautiful marriage. They loved each other, cared about each other so much. They were built on chesed and kindness. My dad runs a full business, and when people in their toughest and hardest times, when they need help, they call my dad. And they call him at night, they call him at day. And then when Hashem threw him one curveball, and then another curveball, and then another curveball, he handled everyone. That's my dad. And you're going to succeed. You're going to succeed because you have the greatest family our community possesses. Your aunts are your mothers. Your uncles are like fathers. Your cousins are like siblings. Your grandparents are angels. You're going to succeed. Pasuk says when they built the Mishkan, there were people that were Nadvaru Ko and Nisa'ol Libo, who came to contribute. Nisa'ol Libo means They weren't just people who had a heart to give. They had a heart that lifted them up to go above and beyond. You come from those people, you're going to succeed. You're going to succeed because people, your mother had the greatest friends in the world. I know me, I'm not even related, and everywhere I went, oh, I'm Stephanie's friend, no, I'm Stephanie's friend, no, I'm Stephanie's best friend. We're making a class with Stephanie, we're making Berachot with Stephanie, we're saying Tehillim with Stephanie. Everyone was Stephanie's best friend, and if you're not sure, your kids, so you don't usually go to Arayats. A Tuesday Arayat at 6 o'clock never has this crowd. That's because your mother has the greatest friends. And you're going to succeed because we have the greatest community who's here for you at every minute. I'm just going to conclude because I'm supposed to be brief. But on the day your mother passed away, there was a family in the community that also had a similar challenge. 20 years ago, a mother passed away with young children, single girls, son. And the community said the same thing, what's going to happen, what's going to be? But you know what happened? All those girls got married. They have wonderful children. And on the 20th yahrzeit this past Friday, 50, 60 people got together in a bus and did a chesed mission in memory of Grandma. They had t-shirts, Mommy's legacy, caps, Mom, we're going to continue Mommy's way. I can't wait for the day where Joe and Sarah, Lawrence, Sherry, Lynn, and Jacob, we're going to get married, and you're going to have children, and you're going to not have children who once had a grandma that was Stephanie. No, you're going to have children who know everything about their grandma. You're going to have children who have Stephanie Sultan in every nuance of their life. They're going to eat healthy. They're going to care about people. They're going to invite people. They're going to be loving to people. They're going to have the kind of friends that your mother had. Her legacy is definitely going to live on. I can't wait for the day when you get to stand inside of a room right before you're about to march down the aisle, and you're going to say to yourself, Hashem, you know what? My mother never left me. My mother's been by my side the entire time, and she's still here with me today. Every single one of you. I can't wait for the day when every single one of you, B'ezrat Hashem, have a baby girl, and you have a little Stephanie. And I can't wait for the day where when there's another challenging incident in the community, that Joe or Sarah, Lawrence, Sherilyn or Jacob, you're going to go over to that person and you're going to say, you're dealing with a challenge. And you're going to tell them, you're going to make it. Because if I made it, so can you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. My son Lawrence Sultan is going to read my daughter Sarah's speech.
Something very important my mother taught me is that Hashem will always answer my prayers. The night before my mom's surgery, I was very nervous. I got into bed with her and she told me, Sarah, everything will be okay. Just pray and Hashem will listen. I remember telling her that night not to worry and not to feel bad, that she couldn't be the mother to us that she used to be. The mother that was always there standing outside, waiting for us to return from school with a smile on her face and the most soothing warm hug that always made my day better. After walking in the door with her, I could smell the delicious dinner that she spent all day working on. And we all know there's nothing better than a mom's cooking. But Mommy, even through this hard year, you were always right here, right there for all of us, with the same smile and the same warm hugs. I learned so much from my mom this year, through her strength, wisdom, and courage. Every word she spoke were words of wisdom, and words I will always live by. She taught me to be strong and to always be myself, by being herself in every situation. She was always so real and so true to others, and always spoke her mind. Mommy, you are everything to me, my inspiration, my mentor, and my best friend. You were the one I would cry to. You were my shoulder to lean on. I would come home after a long, hard day, and you were there for me, the only one I knew how to comfort me. My life will forever be different without you. Even though you are physically not here, I know that you are always by my side, guiding me through life. When I was with you alone in the hospital, I kept telling you, I need you, I need you, I need you. I couldn't imagine going on without you. We did everything together, and we have so many memories. And I was promised many more. But Mommy, you left me. I know how hard you tried to stay. I know how much you fought, but Hashem had other plans for me, you, us, and our family. Mommy, please watch over me. Please be there through all of my life journeys. I want to feel you with me at my graduation, my birthdays, and my wedding. I want you to watch my children grow up. Mommy, I need you. It won't be the same without you. We are all going to try. Even though you aren't here, I know you are always here with me in my heart forever. Just like the song we both play on the piano, I will be right here waiting for you. I love you forever. Love, Sarah.
Thank you, Lawrence and Sarah. Sammy Salem is going to read my sister Marjorie's speech. 4 minutes.
This might be a big violation, like Daniel said, but I'm reading my wife's speech. It's not my speech. A loss beyond expression. There are no words, but we have to find words. We loved her from the start. Stephanie blended into our family effortlessly. She was so much like us, and at the same time, so unique and special. Before my mother was her mother-in-law, she was her yoga teacher. So when Daniel brought her home to meet the family, she was always comfortable in our home. From the first time we met, we both knew it was the beginning of a very special relationship. Not having any married siblings at the time, she loved the fact that she was instantly anti-Stephanie. And before we knew it, her home was hosting us for Shabbat and holiday meals and celebrations. She often laughed about how old I seemed when we met. So when she found herself married for 10 years, she figured people perceived her as being old. She wasn't old, but she was accomplished. She was accomplished because when she took a project, Stephanie gave it her all. She was a hard worker. Stephanie loved to cook. When we opened Bar Kai Yeshiva, she volunteered to give the children cooking class, and she did, adjusting her recipes to kid-friendly and preparing a beautiful handmade instruction page for the children to try at home, which they always did. She gave cooking classes at the cancer center to teach others how to take care of themselves during trying times. Stephanie often dropped off food for both mom and dad. She continued even through her own illness. On her strong days, when she was up and cooking for her family, which she tried so hard to do more often than not, I would get a call. Marge, I have dinner for Mom. Can you pick it up? Those were my best days. Seeing Stephanie back to herself, being the giver that she was. It was hard for her to receive from others, but she learned to. Her friends and family formed an amazing support system during very trying times. As unfathomable as her passing is, the level of support she received was just unimaginable. Although many know Stephanie for her delicious, healthy foods, that's not all she was. She was a pianist, playing beautiful compositions, an artisan, creating beautiful jewelry, a gardener, landscaper, florist, and a florist, arranging flowers while tending and cultivating her garden. A graphic designer, organizing magazines for the community. A volunteer making herself available wherever she would be of help. A friend listening, attentive and advising. A wife, caring, loving, supportive. A mother, nurturing, involved, connected. Stephanie was talented and used her talents and attention to detail to make the world a more beautiful place. Such a loss, so sad, so empty. I was so angry. How could it be? I wanted to sit down on the floor next to my brother and mourn. I was prepared to sit for a week of Shiva, but the Torah doesn't consider me one of the 7 closest relatives to the deceased who mourn for their loss. But the Torah doesn't consider me a mourner, so I tried to cope. I tried to console myself. How? There doesn't seem to be any consolation. Friday night's sleep was not to be had. Morning came, and I didn't know what to do with myself. We tell the mourner, as we leave the house of mourning, to Nahamu min hashamayim, may you be consoled from the heavens. God, consoled by God. The Torah is our connection to God, our gift from God. Maybe the Torah would have something. Jesse, my son, was reading the Torah that morning, so I decided to go hear him read. I thought maybe the Torah could bring some sort of comfort. The Gemara tells us only tzaddikim who completed their destiny die on their birthday. Stephanie died on her birthday. To us, though, she had a long way to go. But to God, she was complete. There is no mourning on Shabbat, but the tears would not subside. Then I was listening to the Torah reading, trying to follow along in the Chumash through the stream of tears. I realized this is the parashat that Hashem tells Moshe to prepare for his death, to go up to Har Eval and to look down on the land which he would not enter. Moshe, the greatest Navi, the closest man to God, who died on his birthday, was told of his death on Shabbat of Stephanie's passing. I still was not consoled, and tears continued to flow. The next section, God commanded Moshe to tell Bnei Israel to bring korbanot throughout the year. First the korban tamid, the daily sacrifice brought twice daily. Then the weekly one for Shabbat. Next the monthly sacrifices of Rosh Chodesh, which was followed by all the sacrifices brought during the holidays, Pesach, Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and ending with Sukkot. Moshe Rabbeinu, the mediator between Bnei Israel and God, was told his time was up. But even without Moshe being the intermediary, Bnei Israel's relationship with God is everlasting. We have the opportunity to connect through the sacrifices, daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly. One complete year cycle, a year. Today, as we mourn the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, we don't have sacrifices, though we have prayers in its place. Our prayers are our means to come close to Hashem. There was something comforting about the parasha in which Stephanie passed, but I was still crying. I was not ready to be consoled. Then we went to visit the family. Lynn and Lawrence's house on Shabbat was full of life. Children playing tag, adults sitting around, some conversing, some resting, all caring. Seeing Daniel and the children surrounded by such special people made me happy. My husband Sammy, that's me, used to call Stephanie by her Hebrew name, Simha, happiness, and her smile lit up our lives. Stephanie touched us all, and we wanted to help. But as much as we gave to Stephanie, she gave us more. She gave up herself. She gave us simcha, and she gave us happiness. I found comfort in her family, her parents and siblings, and especially her children. Her very special children created by Stephanie and Daniel. Daniel, my brother, you are younger than me, but you never cease to amaze me. Your eyes have seen more than most, and throughout it all, you remain the Superman. Trustworthy, calm, taking responsibilities for yourself, your family, your business, and your community. That you find comfort and happiness as you go on. We love you and stand beside you. Your life with Stephanie was full, rich, fun, and exciting. Together you immersed your home with Torah and its values. You shared something special. As I watch your children, I see how Stephanie is alive and finds expression in them. Joseph, your observant, questioning, disposition, and persistence to understand, seeking the truth in life. Sarah, your energy and excitement, love cooking, music, and people. Lawrence, your genuine, truthful nature, inquisitive, and expressive voice. Sherry Lynn, your care and concern for others, and your ability to find clear and logical solutions to problems. Jacob, so energetic, full of her love. May you all keep growing, keep questioning, keep learning. Use your talents and traits to be the best you can be. Know how special your mother was, your father is, and live your lives to the fullest. The Gemara says it takes 40 days for an embryo to be totally formed. Pirkei Avot states, Ben Arba'im Lebina. At the age of 40, a person reaches a state of understanding. Stephanie experienced this world for a total of 40 cycles of the Jewish calendar year and went through the transition to a new beginning. We can be happy for her. She passed on her birthday. So her father Lawrence sang to us all along, for she's a jolly good fellow, which nobody can deny, which nobody can deny.
Thank you, Sammy. Joey Mitesh, Stephanie's cousin, Joey Mitesh.
Hey, Steph. I don't know what to say or what to think. It was literally just yesterday, or maybe just a few weeks ago, we were laughing together for hours on end. I had a vision in my head that whole day that you were going to have a happy and therapeutic summer in your Allenhurst house you built with your mind and your hands and truly loved. Instead, we are missing you, wishing you were here today. And after all that we've been going through these last few heart-wrenching days, I can't help but think about our lives together that also seemed like just yesterday. And we're in campers, spending almost every waking moment living like a big brother and younger sister. How could I ever forget when we were 5 and 4 years old and Grandma and Grandpa took us to Disney World on an experience and a memory that will last us over 35 years. Just as a big brother would, I remember chasing you with a Captain Hook gun. I insisted Grandpa on buying against his will, and never forget when I pulled the trigger pretending to shoot you, and the metal barrel got caught in my ear. I remember thinking as I was screaming in pain, "Ah, that really hurt, I deserve that." Or how about when you used to put on your adorable ballerina shows for the family, and I used to jump in front of you, making fun of your girly performances, and act like one of those annoying big brothers trying to steal your thunder. This relationship and bond continued each and every day of our lives. And as we grew a little older, the annoying and mischievous big brother relationship turned into one of love, caring, and protection. How many nights and days did we go to any and every party, barbecue, and even heading to the beach together, side by side? Joey, take me here. Wait for me, I'm not ready. 5 minutes would turn into hours on end, waiting until it was time to go wherever we were headed. Let's not forget that this bond was reciprocal. I may have been your chaperone and guardian, but you were always my brains when I needed it. Our funniest moment ever was probably the time I wanted you to proofread my essay. It was my first semester at the famous NYU, and you were still a senior in high school. I knew my essay for class needed some tweaking. I came over and had you read it. Tweaking, you shouted? This essay is terrible. This is an essay that belongs in a Dr. Seuss book, you shouted. I snarled at your thoughts and said, what do you know? You're just a studious little high school girl. The following day, the professor read my essay, and following his reading, he asked me what I thought. I actually told him, well, my cousin said the following about it. He said, your cousin's analysis was actually wrong. Not even Dr. Seuss would put this essay in his book. Who would ever dream that those days and hours of time spent would be something I have to cherish and hold dear for a lifetime? From all those days and times, parties and barbecues, you finally met your prince. I remember distinctly, without a doubt, he was crazy head over heels for you, and Daniel met his princess. From day one, the two of you were always on the same perfect page together, and starting and raising your family became front and center for both of you. There was never a time any one of us ever saw you when you didn't have a couple of kids hanging off each limb. They were your adorable little sheep, and you were their shepherd. While raising your family was always at your core each and every day, your love for all of us in the family, the cousin cult clan, your friends, and even neighbors was something that you loved to give and share. When each and every cousin got married, there was nothing that made you happier than you opening up your home and making us the most amazing shiva barachot. You hand-bake and gourmet cook each and every dish, with your heart in every dish you serve. Chefs say the most important ingredient in any dish is love. You put that love in 20 or so dishes each and every time for 15 of your beloved cousins. You had the most amazing relationship with your loving in-laws, the Sultans. Your beautiful qualities you carried since birth only became more wonderful as the glow and distinguished aura of your mother-in-law, Sarah Sultan carried, began to emanate the same way in you. I have been blessed and privileged to be neighbors with your in-laws in the summertime. I knew the summer had begun when you made your way through the garden to come say hello. You had such a special smile when you walked over, and were always so excited to enjoy and appreciate the nature the town had to offer. Nothing can sum up our life together than the time we lost Grandpa. Grandpa passed on Shabbat in Florida at 3 a.m. in the morning. I remember being in shul that morning, not able to utter a word from my mouth. It was especially hard for me knowing that nobody knew as of yet. As soon as shul got out, I was walking aimlessly, and right away I said to myself, I have to tell Stephanie, not knowing whether you had already heard the news or not. I'll never forget walking to your house at the time on Van Sicklin, knocking on the door. Daniel answered and looked at me in silence. Stephanie and I saw each other through the hallway foyer. You ran into my arms, and we cried on each other's shoulders, not saying a word. Just crying on each other for 5 minutes. It was the moment that summarized what we were. Steph, my heart breaks for what you endured these last 13 months. Your husband Daniel, your amazing father and amazing mother turned every stone, rock, and pebble to figure out a way, any way to make you better and take away your pain and suffering. All the while you were gracious with your heart, allowing your amazing friends and all your amazing cousins to be there for you any way possible. You embraced their love and any meals brought, as long as they were organic and non-GMO. And there were even times you loved and appreciated a bagel or two. All the while sharing your wisdom on raising a wholesome family, keeping a nutritious and healthy home, and just being here for all of us. While we were trying to help, you in turn shared so much of yourself that you actually helped all of us. The entire family, especially all your aunts and uncles, want to thank you for letting them in, letting them help, letting them be there for you, and show you their love with all their hearts and might. And you showered your love back in return. You will always be our inspiration to live and appreciate all that we have. Your children, who you adore to the utmost, will always be loved and always be cared for. We love you always and forever. We will miss you. You will always be in our hearts. With love, your entire family.
Thank you, Joey. Carey for his wife Sarah.
This is a letter written by my wife, Sarah Carey. Over the past few days, I've been through every emotion: shock and total devastation, anger, confusion, uncertainty, worry, and acceptance. Acceptance of something I could never begin to understand or ever make sense of. A higher power that we must all accept. When Stephanie was diagnosed with cancer last summer, I'll never forget sitting on her porch with her, and she said, "Don't ever leave me alone. I never want to be alone." And I never did. But this was not a chore or an obligation. This was an invitation into the daily life of an angel named Stephanie, my childhood and lifelong friend. Stephanie, even her name bringing beauty to our ears, was a pure soul, and the highest level of person that we have all been lucky to share life with. She was like a diamond with so many facets. Love and warmth poured out of her in the most natural way, and so did intelligence and wisdom. The love and warmth brought everyone close to her, and the wisdom kept us coming back for more. Like Rabbi Diamond said, she was like an old sage, everyone flocking to be around her, for she was a magnet. It felt so good to be around her. At a Tehillim reading by my house 2 weeks ago, I felt the need to tell everyone about the one thing that stands out when I think of Steph. It was the quality that she put into each and everything that she did. First and foremost was her family. Her husband and her children were everything to her, and making sure they were taken care of and loved in the best way possible was her life's goal. Daniel, you were her rock and the most amazing person, and she knew it. Joseph, Sarah, Lawrence, Sherry Lynn, and Jacob, you all have her strength and her beautiful qualities, and I know that you'll find a way, that you will follow in her ways and make her proud, and she will be guiding you every step of the way. Stephanie put thought into everything that she did, and everything had meaning and purpose. We could think of her as Omer Menad Ve'oseh Arveh, for the myriad of things that she was involved in. From teaching cooking at the cancer center to making shidduchim for a Sephardic link, she was constantly helping people. She was a nutritionist and a health coach, and boy was she passionate about that. We know how many girls revamped their kitchens just by experiencing the way she lived. She was a jewelry artist, and this is where her love of beautiful things shone through. She was the most delicious cook, and it was her joy to feed everyone that walked through her door. Stephanie was always busy with good things and always surrounded by good people, and these are life lessons. But when we think about it, her entire life was a life lesson. The way she lived, the way she loved, the way she treated people, the help that she gave to people, and we must realize that Hashem gave us a precious gift for 40 years. Growing up with Stephanie, I always saw the close bond that she had with her family. And this special bond is what kept her going through this difficult year. I have witnessed such a love, togetherness, and support system from her wonderful parents, devoted husband, caring siblings, and loving children. I am in awe of all of you and love you very much. Stephanie's close group of friends was like no other. We all grew up together, played together, studied together, got married and had children together, and we wanted to grow old together. But instead we'll be praying together, and we are counting on you, Steph, to be our guiding light. Earlier this year, Stephanie was trying to make sense of all this. She asked me, why is this happening to me? I don't need a reminder that life is precious. I already know to appreciate everything. And she did. She appreciated all of Hashem's blessings and lived life to the fullest. After 13 months, on exactly her 40th Hebrew birthday, I was reminded there are no coincidences in life, and that this is all part of Hashem's plan. Steph, I love you, and I'm thankful for all the time that we got to share together. I'll always cherish our relationship and the special relationship that our families have come to share. I never thought that our time together would end, but I want you to know that I will honor you forever and everything that was important to you.
Thank you, Jack, Sarah, Nathan. My brother Nathan's going to be Eric this speech.
I'm reading this on behalf of my wife, Stephanie's sister, Erica. Stephanie, to try and describe her life would be like trying to describe my own. Our lives are entwined as only sisters could be. Her joy is my joy, and her pain is my pain. I can only express to you how I feel now. I feel sadness because she was so sad to leave. Fear because it's so hard to trust the unknown. Relief because I know for sure she is feeling better. Love for her children that are so special to me and have all her best qualities. I don't know life without my sister. When I came into this world, she was already here. I stared at her from my crib, wishing to stand with her, to follow her wherever she went. As I grew, I continued to look at her in awe, wondering how she did what she did, wishing and trying always to catch up and not to be left behind. She absolutely amazed me with her straight back and full lustrous hair, porcelain skin, and cherry red smile. I thought she was the prettiest person ever. Of course, I was a huge copycat and a little sister who wouldn't leave her alone, but it was only because I adored her so much. Still, the perfection I saw in her pushed me to be better than I was, to strive for her affection and acceptance, which, come to think of it, might actually still be the case. From the beginning, the love I always had for my sister was very deep. It was something I was born with, part of my core, a feeling that was always there, unconditionally and unwavering, a deep feeling of wanting her to be happy and cared for and the best. When we were in elementary school, we learned that this world was only a closed door, a hallway to the next world. I remember we used to make fun of that word, closed door, but no matter how many times they said it to us, I never understood it until now. My sister Stephanie left this world on her birthday. I know this is an honor reserved only for Tzaddikim. It made me think, Steph, a Tzaddiket? Really? I mean, I know she was beautiful and had a very special way about her and had some exceptional qualities and was very loved. But a Tzaddiket, like Sarai Menu and the great people of the Tanakh? Really? But why? But I understand. She did a lot of wonderful things that mattered. She cared for her home, Daniel, and her children. She worked on matchmaking in the Cancer Center and the Board of Ed. She planted vegetables and cooked succulent meals. She greeted everyone with a smile. She dropped everything when someone was in need. But I think this past year, feeling as lousy as she did something that even the most powerful, brave, and energetic people couldn't do. She had the courage to open her heart and open her doors to anyone that wanted to help. Her attitude and willingness tumble sauce into a chain reaction that got the whole community involved. In this way, she had everyone praying, everyone trying, everyone doing chesed. And without realizing it, in her modest way, she became the most effective woman in the community, leading everyone in the direction of righteousness and kindness. Therefore, she was a tzaddiket and merited to pass on her birthday, the day she was born. Yes, the day she was born into the next world, having walked the prosdor, the whole way of this world, seamlessly, as the heavens welcome Shabbat and her beautiful neshama. Isn't Hashem amazing? I think she's making a lot of friends in her new world, finding things in common with people young and old, making connections between them, and teaching them how to help each other, organizing committees and advocating for all of us here on earth. I know this because I feel it. I feel her here and there. I see her in her children's eyes, and I see her in my dreams. Believe me, she's very busy. Steph, we will be okay here because you taught us well. We will always hold on to your essence, your strength, your beauty, your compassion, your love for truth, and desire for what is real. Your children will continue to grow and learn from your example, and be amazing, and love life, and make every day count just as you did. And I will love every moment of them, because they will forever remind me of you, Steph. When we were little and we shared a room, we made a pact that night. I watched your side of the room, and you watched mine. Our pact remains. I'll watch from here, and you will watch from there. And I know you'll never close your eyes. All my love, Erica.
Thank you, Nathan and Erica. My brother-in-law Joseph, Janelle, Joe, Hannah.
People have asked me this past week to describe my sister and give them an idea about her. Stephanie is not someone that can be described in words. Killed me with that last line. Really, she can only be described through a feeling. I hope the following ideas give you that feeling. We'll start with Stephanie's main calling and accomplishment in life. Stephanie was an amazing mother who, right off the bat, I want to say, has produced the most amazing kids. Her motherhood began 27 years ago, the day I was born. People think I'm spoiled because of my mother. No, it was because of Stephanie. She was at my every beck and murmur, and she loved every minute of it. I was once learning with one of Stephanie's kids. After I remarked to her how amazing this kid was, how quick and smart, how he asked great questions. Yes, he worked very hard to become like that. What do you mean, I asked. Well, he was having a hard time learning in school, processing information. So I sat with him, studied with him. I tried to understand where he was having difficulty. I looked into special programs that could help him. I studied the program. I learned how to teach it. I spent a whole summer, 5 hours every day, going through this program with him. When September came, he was suddenly an A student. Stephanie was not one who counted on school alone. She took responsibility for her child. On Friday nights, we would all be in the den enjoying Mazza, sitting around each other, catching up on a week. Stephanie was nowhere to be found. Where was she? Of course, in the basement with Jacob. Finally, one week I went down there and found her playing on the floor. Steph, what are you doing? She looked up at me with a giant, warm smile on her face. This is where he wants me. She was wherever her kids wanted her. The health of her child was not if he's sick, let the doctor give him medicine. If he's bored, let him watch TV or eat candy. Not if he's struggling, let me hire a tutor or yell at the teacher. It was how do I build their bodies so they are strong? How do I nourish them to withstand sickness? What can I occupy them with so that they are productive and having fun? What program can I learn so that I can educate my child at making the best he can be? She went straight to the root of the problem, directly to the source, and she toiled to find the truest solutions. She overmothered her children in every aspect. She loved all her kids extra, not just Jacob. From food to clothes to sleep to school, we all made fun of her. She nursed her Jacob until he was 2.5. We all killed her. She didn't care. She didn't even flinch. She cared with all her heart, and she did as she cared. She did what she thought was the right thing, in the most thorough way she knew possible. She toiled for her children. She lived a life of only 40 years, but toiled more than most people would in 120 years. The Pasuk in Yov says, Adam la'amal yulad. Man was born to toil. And when Hashem felt she was done with her toiling, he took her. Even at the end, she toiled to smile at us, to wave and greet us, to hug us, to kiss us, to write us a note, to put the line under each message. She toiled until the end. Each breath she toiled for us, for her children. Each additional moment we had with her, we cherished. It's hard to imagine a person so essential to life not there. And even with all this extra and extra mothering, she somehow managed to make many quality best friends. We would come to the house to see Stephanie and not know anyone. Stephanie was very non-judgmental. She was so approachable, and you could talk to her about anything. She had friends from every walk of life. You would walk into her house and see friends in wigs and shorts, everything in between. This was what it was like meeting Stephanie's friends. Hi, who are you? What do you mean? I'm Stephanie's best friend. And I remember you were so cute. I must have heard that 40 times this year. From where? From cooking, from knitting, from the bead store, from the organic store, from high school, from kindergarten, from the cancer center, from the link, the list went on. I met a woman this week. She told me 8 years ago I was sick with cancer and had no one to take me to treatment. Stephanie drove me to every treatment and would never leave me alone. She made friends, real friends, deep friends with thorough relationships. With all this, she still was an expert gardener, a skilled jewelry maker, everything handmade with love, a pianist and artist. She was a handcrafted person who always continued to create herself. I remember sitting there while she painted her basement floor herself, each border meticulously shaped with patience and focus. So focused, she trapped herself in the corner of the room and had to wait for it all to dry to come out. Everything she did was thorough. Everything she did, she didn't just do, she toiled. When she was sick, not feeling well, and stuck in bed, she would be lying there, not enough energy to do much. We told her, Steph, download a movie, buy a season, buy 10 seasons. She didn't know how to watch TV. She didn't know how to waste away time. She was a doer. She was a person of meaning. If it was important enough for her to do, it meant she had thought about it and it had meaning. She lived every day to do, not just to live. The past 3 weeks have been the most painful weeks of my life. The past 13 months have been an emotional roller coaster. Stephanie was okay to pass on her 40th birthday, on the exact hour she was born. The Gemara says, referring to Moshe Rabbeinu, that Hashem is memaleh shenotav shel tzadikim. He completes the years of tzadikim. Why? Because midah keneged midah. The tzaddik was memaleh their life with work and toil for Hashem. So Hashem repays them and completes their life. Steph, we certainly did not think your life was complete. We were not ready for you to leave. We need you. But apparently Hashem thought otherwise. and he gave us some nehama by showing this to us. There is great significance to the number 40. 40 years in the Midbar, 40 days of rain of Noah, 40 se'ah in Mikveh, 40 parts to a neshama, 40 days of Yamim Noraim. The common denominator here is that the 40th always represents the point of culmination and renewal. For example, the 40th day of Yamim Noraim is Yom Kippur, the purest and holiest day of the year, symbolizing a renewed life going forward with Hashem. Steph, on your 40th year exactly to the moment, you peaked your purity. You became so holy and pure. Hashem wanted you with him. And now we are forced to move forward to a new life without him. Stephanie also merited to be buried on Friday, Erev Shabbat. Our rabbis teach us that at this time, the niftar experiences no hibut hakeved, which means there are no transition from this. There are no pains of the transition from this world to the next. The holy books write that this pain is even worse than death itself. We have no understanding of what this means. What merits a person to such a thing? Our sages correlate the preparation to Shabbat to the preparation for the next world. Hayom la'asotam u'machal lekabel sacharam. The Baal Shem Tov explains that a person who has spent their life in this world preparing for the next is zofeh to go directly into the Shabbat of the next world, with no transition. A person that prepared for Shabbat has what to eat on Shabbat. A person who has prepared in this world is ready for the next world, and he doesn't need transition. He can go straight into Shabbat, straight into Olam HaEmet, with no intermediary. Stephanie spent her life working, toiling, doing, producing. She lived every minute for meaning, for purpose and intent. Hashem felt she had worked Erev Shabbat. She had prepared for Shabbat and was zofeh to go straight into the eternal Shabbat. I want to thank everybody who helped my sister these past 13 months. I want to thank all her amazing friends. I want to thank Rabbi Diamond, who was literally there with us as a father is with their daughter. I want to thank my brother Daniel, who is just the most amazing person I know. I learn from you every day. Who I realized has one disability. It's just impossible for him to see any situation negatively. I want to thank Stephanie for being my sister, for being my second mother, for showing me the true meaning of warmth and dedication. Thank you for bringing us to the Sultan family to be connected to the most quality people in this community. Steph, please stay with me. Please stay with all of us and continue to guide us through life. I love you so much, and I will always love you so much. I'm going to read a short message from my wife as well. Stephanie, when I met you for the first time, right away I saw something special. You came to find me where I worked. And the hug and hello you gave me made me feel like you knew me forever. Right away I saw your purity and sweetness. Before you even knew me, you made me feel so welcome. Your warmth assured me that it would be the beginning of a close relationship, and it was. Your fan and your beauty, both inside and out, made me gravitate towards you. As I got to know you, I learned so much from you. What stuck with me the most is the way I saw you give. You were a true giver, only wanting to be on the giving end. When I would speak to you, I saw how your eyes were completely focused on me, always giving me your undivided attention. It made me feel so important. And you did the same for everyone else. I always remember how you helped me prepare my first dinner after getting married. I was a nervous wreck. Didn't know where to start, what to do. I couldn't even hold a knife. You took me grocery shopping, came back to my apartment, and started cooking with me, giving me the tips that I have till today. And you really did teach me how to use a knife. My confidence in the kitchen is really credited to you. Thinking back now as a mother, I can only imagine how many things you had to do that day. But all you wanted to do was teach me how to give the way you constantly gave to your family. You had an enjoyment for cooking like no one else. Your food was delicious and nourishing. Your secret ingredient was love. Stephanie, you were the most caring mother. What I admire most about you is how much you love being a mother. Watching you take care of your kids with such patience and warmth taught me a true example of how a mother should be. Each one of your beautiful children clearly have your trait of giving. Watching them this week taking care of each other and giving to one another is truly heartwarming. I know you are watching them, and I'm sure you are so proud. You were their best role model for them, and they will surely follow in your footsteps. I feel so blessed that I was your sister-in-law for the last 4.5 years. And I'm especially grateful for the past 13 months where we spent so much time together and got so close. You always said, I was not your sister-in-law, but rather your sister. Stephanie, I feel the same. I know you will always be with us. I love you, and I will miss you so much.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Amy. Norman, our girls are Norman.
I'm going to first read something that my wife Jennifer wrote. Jen, one of the outlaws. Stephanie J. Sultan, 7/21/76. It's a line we heard the nurses and doctors utter so much over our time together in treatments and hospital stints over the last 13 months. But there was so much more to Steph than that. By the end, the entire staff was crying for us, and more importantly with us. But let's go back to the beginning. It's been 11 years since I was privileged to call you my sister-in-law. There was an entire world already around you filled with all things important to you, but you invited me in without question. And over the years, we have found so many things to share, from our love of knitting to our love of food, our kids playing together. We were always connected. You were always honest. You were always Stephanie. No matter who you spoke with or what about, it was so real and so natural. From the clothes you wore, to your beautiful handmade jewelry, to the ingredients you used, and the food you ate. The way you love to plant your own unique gardens and take pride in watching them bloom. But more than anything, you were the most natural mom in the world. You loved your family with everything you had. You spent your days making them happy. And it's not as if you had nowhere else to be, but truly, there was nowhere else you wanted to be. You understood that every moment was a gift, not to be taken for granted. Before you got sick, you were so private, never revealing to most all the programs you were a part of and all the tests that you did. But from the day we knew something was wrong, you opened your heart and your home. You let everyone in, friends, old and new, and there wasn't a person whose company you weren't grateful for. You allowed everyone to do for you what you couldn't do, knowing that the favors were more to quench their need to help than because you actually needed it. On that note, I want to thank you, Steph, for letting me in as much as you did, for trusting me to take care of meals and food for your family. It was something that meant so much to you, which is why it meant so much to me. I spent my days in and out of your home getting to know you more in a year than I did in the 10 before. Your friends who were there day in and day out are now and forever a part of my life. And we all have you to thank for that and so much more. A year ago, when you were diagnosed, someone told me that our family would have to get used to a new normal. And
And now we have to cope with our newest normal. I will knit with you by my side, I will cook with you on my mind, and I will mother with you in my heart. I love you and I miss you, extra image. I know it's great. I'm a little biased. Sorry, I know it's 7, if you want to pick a high, you can go to the deal shul. This is the last one. That's going to help me with this one. I asked a group of Stephanie's friends, if I were to ask Steph what I should speak about, what would it be? The answer I got was that Stephanie never did anything or said anything without a purpose. She was never one for small talk. During this past year, while they were all together in the house, she said, we should do something more than just sit around. Let's start a class and at least learn. Let's learn something while we're here. And so they did. So since I believe she is here with us today, hearing the rabbis and hearing all the family speak, she would tell me, if you're going to talk about me, I want to hear something with meaning, something we can all learn from. While we'll never be able to understand any reason for Stephanie's tragic passing, in it, we can still try to find underlying purpose and meaning. Since her diagnosis, until her passing on Friday, faith and the resolve to get better from her, our family and community was relentless. My parents became our heroes. My father, the intellectual rock, formulating the plans and encouraging Stephanie to get well. My mother, the tireless superwoman, dedicating every moment to Stephanie and her needs. Stephanie's story is one of hope and love. The hope was in your prayers, the never-ending belief that Hashem would save Stephanie. The love was the abundance of chesed done each day for Stephanie and her refuah. Through her struggle, the prayer and chesed yielded tremendous blessings that came as a direct result of her circumstance. While she suffered for 13 months, she somehow gained merit that most cannot achieve in a full lifetime. In conversation this week, people mentioned to me the disappointment and anger they felt during a heartfelt Mass Tehillim reading this past Friday. Everyone was so distraught when they learned that she had passed during their prayers. Why didn't Hashem answer us? He did. Everyone here, our greater community, through their support for Stephanie, has become part of our family. And family deserves to know. So as best as I can, let me give my account of the experience. At first, there was panic. Stephanie was suddenly very ill, very quick. In early July of last summer, we needed to get her out of NYU and into Sloan under the care of Dr. Kelson. Hashem blessed us first with a successful stent procedure that was her first lifeline. The night before we left, against NYU's will, Dr. David Schwartz ordered for a scan to test Stephanie for blood clots. The other doctors thought it highly unlikely and said it can wait until the morning. Schwartz pushed the issue and discovered Stephanie was in danger of a deadly clot. He woke up the surgical team and insisted they show up at 2 a.m. to put in a filter to prevent the clots from going to her lungs. The next morning, Daniel and my parents forced the issue to take Stephanie out of NYU against the recommendation. NYU said it was too dangerous for her to leave. We knew it was too dangerous for her to stay. We asked, where's Schwartz? Turns out, his shift the day prior was supposed to end at 7 p.m. And that was his last day, before indefinite medical leave due to Parkinson's. That night, he saved her life. Later that summer, Stephanie was trying to avoid another surgery, trying for days to resolve the problem naturally. The doctors told us if it didn't fix itself overnight, they'd have no choice but to operate, and they'd do it in the morning. Rabbi Diamond told us to get the people together and say particular Perek of Tehillim. Mass text spread like wildfire into multiple readings, and by morning, she was out of danger. Then, there was unity. Stephanie's friends. We knew going in that our extended family support was strong, and we'd count on that, but we had no idea Stephanie knew all of these amazing people. Intelligent, caring, focused women, from the old school straight A's friends, the link friends, knitting friends, Bacchae friends, magician friends, you heard about them all before, and then some people that just felt compelled to get through our family security fence because they wanted to be close there. You know who you are. And they never left, ever. Breakfast, massage, walk, lunch, massage, walk, dinner, dessert, repeat. Treatment days led into bad days, and then hopefully a couple of decent days, and they never left. Stephanie was so grateful, and she opened her home and heart to accept it. A highlight of this time was Lawrence Sultan's bar mitzvah in October. His angelic voice through prayer, and Stephanie's energetic joy beat cancer, even if only for one day. Daniel had a very smart strategy. Anytime we were in a hospital room, he peppered family pictures all over the room and played piano instrumental number 2 on Pandora. When nurses or doctors came in, he'd calmly say, "This is my wife, and these are our 5 children." She was no longer just a patient. She was a young wife and mother. Attitudes changed immediately from scientific stats to human interaction. When Dr. Patey walked in, Daniel went through his usual salutations. Before Stephanie's biggest surgery yet, the self-titled tag team, Daniel and my parents, learned Patey was coming off of back-to-back surgeries before entering into Stephanie's. They invited him up to the room for a home-cooked Shabbat meal to nourish him before operating on Steph. He walked in and saw a hospital room turned into a Friday night dinner table. He was overwhelmed and began to understand our family. Needless to say, he ate well. The operation was successful, but the recovery was meant to be a long one. Patey took interest after developing the family bond, and Stephanie was able to come home early because of his care. It was really a miracle she got home that night. The next morning, Daniel's mom, Grandma Sarah Sultan, passed away. Hashem made it so that Daniel could be there for his mom that morning to take care of her like him and his family have done for this community for generations. Dr. Patey had a big party a few weeks later, a birthday party with his contemporaries and family. When asked to speak, he got up and told of his Friday night meal with my family, spoke of Stephanie's will to live and get better for her kids, and said he learned that the true meaning of life is family, community, and togetherness. We spent Passover together and Shavuot in Deal as Erica and Nathan moved into their new house across the street from the Sultans on Allen Avenue. Stephanie was weak, but happy to have her sister close by. We spent time in the early part of the summer on Erica's porch. She was so happy to be there, to know that her sister's family was close to hers. But she was struggling. 3 weeks ago, she sensed something was not right in her body and insisted the tag team take her to the hospital. Her intuition was correct, and she presented with a dangerous infection. There we met a new messenger, Dr. Josh Smith, Patey's partner. Daniel did his usual family bit, and Smith was hooked immediately. On Tuesday, July 12th, he operated, and on the 14th, he was set to close the wound. Somewhere along the way,
Daniel caught Dr. Smith walking out of church service one morning on the street. He said he was praying for Stephanie. A daily meeting was set for the morning of the 14th around 11 a.m. We learned late that night that Smith was concerned, and he wanted to operate first thing in the morning. With one message, the cousins extended and mobilized for an 8 a.m. prayer. The plan was to be together until it was over. So at 7 a.m., traveling from Deal, the whole family, plus our Red Diamond, gathered in the ICU, a room where 3 at most are permitted. Doctors and nurses looked at us. Where'd you all come from at this godly hour? We wrapped it in the and ignored them. They told us she'd be going down in a few minutes and that Smith's team is ready. Suddenly, Stephanie's heart rate skyrocketed and the transport team panicked. They called surgery and said, "We can't move her in this state." Smith said, "Bring her down." They refused. Smith told them, "If you don't bring her down, I'm coming up together." He sent up his surgical team and they took full responsibility, determined to succeed. Others warned us that her chance was slim. Smith later told us when she got to him, her heart rate was 180. He operated anyway. 90 minutes later, we waited in the conference room for his report. Those few minutes were painfully long. Looking like he practiced his words down the hall, he walked in, sweating and shaking, and he uttered, "She's back in the ICU." We couldn't believe it. Another miracle, Baruch Hashem. Rabbi Meir Yedid came to the ICU to visit one day when Dr. Smith walked in the room. He told Smith, he said, "Our rabbis say that surgeons that work with the kind of care and diligence as he did are considered like God's partners in creation." Smith responded and said, "I can tell you with certainty, I was not alone in that room." Slowly, Stephanie began to heal. Days later, she regained consciousness and started communicating with us. There was never so much excitement over a foot wiggle. Then came the writing, followed by her low conversation and more writing. At night in the ICU, nobody was allowed to stay. And for the first time, she was alone. We all know Stephanie hated to be alone. She was scared those nights, and the family began saying Shema Amitah, the bedtime Shema. By that I mean, all her cousins and all her friends began saying Shema Amitah. Her now less famous English birthday, July 21st, was coming up and she wanted to see her kids. That weekend, and into the following week, Joseph, Sarah, Lawrence, and Sherry Lynn came to see her. Jacob's videos and voice heard through modern technology. It was sad, but a time of love and hope that most of us won't experience in a lifetime on this earth. The stare and the longing of a mother peering directly at her kids, communicating through her soul and sharing her deepest hopes and dreams she had for them. The miracle was then reciprocated. Each of her children, young and old, communicating in their way through speech, song, tears, stares, and longing. Those days were sad, but immensely meaningful, hugely productive, and the love expressed was the ultimate purpose of life itself. Friday morning, my brothers and sisters, parents and Daniel, along with the Red Diamond, spent Stephanie's last morning with us together. She was comfortable, but she kept battling. Daniel stroked her head and kissed her. My dad spoke to her and told her, he'll never give up hope. My mom pressed her arms, and Erica massaged her feet. Daniel said to us, and the doctors, we can still see a miracle happen. We all learned from that. And until the final moment, we never gave up. We stayed with her as her neshama went up to Shamayim, and a sense of peace came over the room. The miracle Daniel and the family hoped for didn't happen, but others did. As pointed out by her passing after Hatzot on her 40th Hebrew birthday, Erev Shabbat, Hashem was there. Through the stories of her year-long battle and the messengers of Hashem that saved her life, time and time again, Hashem was there. After she passed, it was immediately about getting her buried before Shabbat. After the quick, emotional service at Bloomfield, we began to realize the magnitude of Stephanie's effect. Seas of people in all directions. It was overwhelming, humbling, tragic, and uplifting. And then we arrived at the cemetery, just 2 hours or so before Shabbat was set to begin. Daniel had already chosen her final resting place, immediately next to his mother, who was next to his father, on the entrance into the new community cemetery. 25,000 needed plots on an open land. The most beautiful place to rest we've ever seen. 617 Cranberry Road, East Brunswick. Cranberry, C-R-A-N-B-U-R. What? As Daniel would say, everybody is welcome to visit. There was no time to go back to the house. After we buried Stephanie, Daniel covered the mound atop her completely in white stone. We stood by her gravesite, and next to her, we rent our garments. We then ate our last meal with her, and sat down on the ground next to her. She was with us there, the way she will always be. It was surreal and perfect. In Shir HaShirim, King Solomon writes, Simeni kachatam alibecha, ki aza kamavet hava. Wear thy name upon thy sleeve, for love is as strong as death. Shalom HaMelech is referring to Hashem and saying that our love for Hashem is so strong, we are willing to die for it. Well, who knew what Stephanie's soul knew? Her love for her family was so great that maybe only in death can the immensity of her love be fully realized. We've noticed this past week her love shining bright through her children. After her passing, a rabbi I know for a number of years shared a personal story. His mother had passed at the age of 39 when he was just 13, and the youngest just a day old. The family sent in to their rabbi the text that they wished to inscribe on her tombstone. She raised and educated the Dor Yesharim Mevorach. The rabbi omitted the words raised and educated, explaining that the mother was still raising and educating her children, and they should not write so in the past tense, as she must still continue to do so from above. A mother's work is never done. A Jewish mother never separates from her children and continues to be active in their lives, only in a hidden and spiritual way. This may be the biggest lesson of Zehut HaNiftar, or Zehut Avot. We look around at the amazing community, which has never shone brighter than the hope and love shared in unifying around my sister Stephanie's refuah. The living community today was not produced in one generation or two. It is thousands of years of lifetimes and generations of families like ours today that continue to instill these values in their children and their children's children. These generations are resting today in Staten Island and Aleppo, Lebanon and Egypt, Europe, Mexico and Israel. It's our great nation of Israel and the values passed down from Avraham Avinu and our forefathers, from Sarah and Imahot, and all the mothers that followed in their ways. We don't stop enough to think about how much our ancestors really do for us. But our Zehut Avot is truly amazing. It is because of them that we exist today and persevere. And along with Stephanie's help, though it is difficult, we as a family and a community will also persevere. She is the young mother that will eternally remain in her prime, guiding her children and family from above.
a role model for her friends and community. She will forever be at the gates of the new cemetery, next to Daniel's parents, welcoming in the next generation, on which future generations will rely on their zip code for its future. Wear thy name upon thy sleeve, for love is as strong as death.
Thank you, Norman and Jen. Stephanie would be honored to have Rabbi Diamond say the Hashkalah. As I said, everyone stand.
צדיק אתה אדוני וישר משפטיך, צדיק אתה בכל מלאכה וחסד בכל מעשיו, צדקת לך צדק לעולם, תורת לך אמת, משפטי אדוני אמת צדקו יחדיו, ואשר דבר מלך שלטון מי יאמר לו מה תעשה, והוא באחד ומשבנו, ונפשו יבטא ויעש, קטון וגדול שם הוא, ועבר חופשי כאדוניו, אין בעבדיו לא יאמין מלאכה ויזיק חלב. אף כי אינו שלמה בן אדם תולע, עשו תמים פעולות, כי כל דרכיו משפט, אין אמונה ואין עבר סלי וישר הוא. דיין האמת, שופט צדק באמת, ברוך דיין האמת, כי כל משפטיו צדק ואמת. אשת חיים נמצא, רחוק בפנים בכלל, תנו לה מפני ידיה, עלו בשערי מעשיה, רחמנה דרחמותה בלהי, ובלעד בדיו על מיה, על מעטה ועל מעטה, ונאז בסקרניות וחסקניות דעתם להודה, ומבלה וקרא כפה יאמר למעל קדמוהי, וכלן האישה הכבודה והצנועה, הנכבדת מרץ, שמחה, סטפני בת, שרה, שרילין, רוח אדוני תניחן בגן עדן, לפטרה ונעלמה הדין, כברת רחם מלא שמיה וערה, המלך רחמה ויחפוץ ויחמול עליה, לווה עליה שלום, והמשכבה יהיה שלום, כדכתיב יבוא שלום, ינובו על משכבותם, הולך נוכחו, היא וכל בנות ישראל, השופחות עמה, וכל הרחמים והסליחות, וכן יהי רצון, ולומר אמן. מילה המוות, הנסח, מחר, ומעניינים תמנה כל פנים, והלפת עמו יסדה כל הארץ, ואדוני דיבר, יחיו בדיך, ולבתי תומון, הקיצו ולמנו שוך לעפר, כי תעלו לא תעליך, וארץ רפאים תכיר, והוא רחום יכפר עבור, לא ישחית בדבר השקפו, ולא העיד כל חמתו, אדוני הושיע, המלך יעננו, יום כלנו, ונוחמו מן השמיים.
חניה בן הקשה אומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא זכוי שרפיך, סליחה על זה נאמר, מהחפש מה סכור, יהודי אותו
Rabbi Kadash Shemir Abba, Ba'amat Yibara Kerutev, Yamlik Malchutev, Yitzma Purkanev, Yikarev Yishikher, Yachai Yechon, Uvyom Yechon, Uchayed Yechon, Be'Yisrael, Ba'agalav, Uzman, Karib, Emru Amen. Yeher Shemir Abba, Mivarach Nolam, Lomea Maya, Yitbarach, Yishtapav, Yitfa'ad, Raman, Yitnasev, Yitadav, Yitalev, Talav, Shemer, Yitkucha, B'Yiku. Le'ela Miko, Berchata, Shirata, Tishvekata, Menechata, Amran, Ba'ama, Emru Amen. Yisrael, Abraman, Baal Tamidoron, Baal Kol, Tamide, Tamidoron, Diskin, Yeta, Kibishta, Bi, Betara, Zim, Bi, Beko, Atabe, Ata, Yehel, Ana, Uchon, Uchon, Hina, Yista, Verachamen, Min, Kodam, Ares, Maya, Berabel, Muamen. Yeheshel, Amara, Min, Shemayim, Zava, Bishua, Benechama, Besher, Zava, Ufu, Agula, Slika, Bekapara, Bareva, Atzalalan, Uchon, Israel, Bemru, Amen. ועושה שלום במרומיו וברחמיו יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ואמרו אמן.
We're going to pray Minha. Ladies, keep going. That I thought. Lawrence, the Sultan's going to be here.